The sight of Madison stepping out of a brand new Mercedes made my stomach turn. Just last week she'd claimed she was too financially stretched to start repaying the $45,000 she'd borrowed from me, a loan she'd begged for, claiming it was the only way to avoid bankruptcy. Yet here she was, running her manicured hand along the hood of a vehicle that probably cost more than my annual salary. "Oh, this," she said, flashing that same carefree smile that had gotten her out of trouble her whole life. "Just got it yesterday, great lease deal, you wouldn't believe the features it has." My name is Olivia Sullivan, and at 32, I was standing in my driveway, watching my sister flaunt luxury while my hard-earned savings, money I'd scraped together for a down payment on my first home, remained unpaid. "I thought you were in financial trouble," I said, my voice tighter than I intended. "That's why you needed the loan, remember?" Madison waved a dismissive hand. "I still am, but this is different. It's just a lease. Besides, I needed something reliable for work." The ease with which she justified her choices was infuriating. I remembered the day she'd come to me, mascara streaked and voice shaking, sobbing about looming foreclosure and maxed-out credit cards, promising this was just a one-time favor, that she'd start repaying me in 6 months. That was a year ago. "Your old car was only 3 years old," I reminded her, "and you swore you'd start paying me back months ago." She rolled her eyes, glancing at her reflection in her phone screen. "God, don't be so uptight, Olivia. You're fine. You've always been good with money. It's not like you really need it right now anyway." Then, with breathtaking audacity, she added, "Oh, I'm planning a trip to Europe this summer. You should come, though it might be a bit expensive for you." The casual way she dismissed my loan, as if being responsible with money somehow meant I didn't deserve to be repaid, made my blood boil. "Actually, I do need the money," I said sharply. "I was going to use it for a house down payment." Madison shrugged. "Maybe this is a sign you should keep renting. Property ownership is so much responsibility." She glanced at her watch. "Anyway, I can't stay. I've got a spa appointment. We should do lunch soon." Then she slid into her car and drove off, leaving me standing there in the wake of her entitlement. And that's when it hit me. She had never intended to pay me back. In her mind, I was the safety net, the dependable one, the responsible sister who always had extra to spare. The pattern had been clear my whole life. When Madison maxed out her first credit card at 19, my parents had covered it. When she dropped out of college after 3 wasted semesters, they had called it finding her path. Meanwhile, I had worked through college, built my graphic design career from internships up, and saved meticulously. But responsibility was never rewarded the way recklessness was excused. That evening, I pulled up my bank statements, staring at the sharp drop from a year ago. I'd had almost $60,000 saved, enough for a solid down payment. Now, thanks to Madison, I was still in a rental, watching her live in luxury with my money. But that was about to change. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "Madison just showed us her new car. Isn't it gorgeous?" She said she got an amazing deal. Of course she had. Madison always got amazing deals that somehow left her broke. I thought about telling my mom about the unpaid loan, but I already knew how that conversation would go. "She's going through a rough time," my mom would insist. "You know how hard things have been since the divorce." Never mind that the divorce had been 3 years ago, that her ex-husband had left her with a paid-off house and a generous settlement. Somehow, she had burned through all of it while maintaining her designer wardrobe, frequent weekend trips, and now, a brand new Mercedes. I opened my email, scrolling back to the desperate message she'd sent a year ago. "I promise I'll pay you back in 6 months tops. You're my only hope, Olivia. I could lose everything." Below it, months of follow-ups, each with a different excuse. Car, repairs, property taxes, a leaky roof. Yet somehow, she always had money for luxury. My inbox dinged again. Madison had emailed the entire family a slideshow of her new car. "New beginnings," she wrote. "Sometimes you have to invest in yourself." Invest in herself? With my money that was meant for my home, my future. My hands trembled with anger as I closed my laptop. This wasn't just about the money anymore, it was about respect, about family, about being taken for granted. The next day, I started compiling evidence. Every email, every text, every bank transfer, I documented it all. My graphic design training came in handy as I laid it out in a timeline, a pattern so predictable it was almost laughable. Desperate. pleas for help followed by months of evasion, sprinkled with casual mentions of her latest splurges. I even found the napkin where she had scribbled her repayment plan in my kitchen, promising 6 months tops. I had kept it, thinking it might matter someday. Now, it sat in my growing file of broken promises. Another text from Madison buzzed in. "Hey sis, some friends are planning a spa weekend next month. You should come. We could do a payment plan for your share." I stared at the screen in disbelief. She was inviting me to a spa weekend while sitting on $45,000 of my savings. The audacity of it made my blood boil. That evening, my cousin Erin called. "I saw Madison's new car on Instagram," she said cautiously. "Isn't that the same sister who borrowed your house down payment?" "The very same," I replied. "Olivia," Erin's voice turned serious, "you need to do something. This isn't okay. My husband's a lawyer, and he keeps saying you should have gotten something in writing." She was right, of course. I had trusted family instead of protecting myself. But it wasn't too late to fix that mistake. "You know what will happen?" Erin warned. "The whole family will say you're being harsh. They'll tell you to be understanding because she's going through a hard time." I exhaled sharply. "She's been going through a hard time since high school," I said. "Meanwhile, I'm the one living in a 1-bedroom apartment because my savings are sitting in her driveway." After hanging up, I opened my laptop and started researching small claims court procedures. The maximum claim in our state would cover most of what Madison owed me, and I quickly found templates for formal demand letters, the first step in legal proceedings. My hands trembled as I typed her name into the template. This would be a game changer. No more family dinners pretending everything was fine, no more playing the understanding sister while Madison flaunted my money, and no more being the family ATM. As I looked around my small apartment, the life I'd sacrificed to help her, my resolve only strengthened. Madison had made her priorities clear when she bought that Mercedes. Now it was time for me to choose mine. I sent the demand letter by certified mail, keeping the receipt as more proof. 3 days later, Madison barged into my apartment, waving the letter. "Are you serious with this legal garbage?" she shouted. "I'm your sister. You can't sue your own sister." I remained calm. "You've had a year to handle this like sisters. Now we're handling it like adults who made a financial agreement." She flopped onto my couch, starting the waterworks that had worked in the past. "Yes, family is important," I said. "So important that I gave you my house down payment when you needed help. So important that I trusted you to keep your word. How's that working out?" "You know I've been struggling," she began. "Not too much struggle for a new Mercedes or those designer boots or that European vacation you're planning," I interrupted. Her tears dried, replaced by anger. "You're just jealous because I know how to enjoy life while you pinch pennies," she snapped. "No," I countered. "I'm angry because you took advantage of me. You promised to repay me but instead spent my money on luxury cars and spa weekends." "Fine," she shot back, standing up and grabbing her designer purse. "Take me to court. See how Mom and Dad feel about that. They already think you're too materialistic, always talking about saving and investments." "You mean being responsible?" "Yeah. How terrible of me," I said sarcastically. As she stormed out, my phone lit up with texts from our parents. Madison had clearly called them immediately. "Mom, why are you threatening your sister? She's family." "Dad, let's talk about this. No need for lawyers." I took a deep breath and typed a group message. "Madison borrowed $45,000 a year ago, promising to repay it in 6 months. Yesterday, she bought a new Mercedes instead of paying me back. I'm done being taken advantage of." Responses came quickly. "Mom, she needed that car for work." "Dad, maybe we can work out a payment plan." "Madison, I can't believe you're telling everyone about this. Private family matters should stay private." I laughed aloud. "Private family matters? Like the Mercedes all over social media? Or the bragged about European vacation?" "Private or public, the money is still owed," I replied. "You have 30 days to respond to the demand letter. After that, I'm filing in small claims court." The next family dinner was a battlefield. Mom had insisted we all gather to work things out, but it was clear where her loyalties lay. She'd even made Madison's favorite meal, as if pasta could make me forget about $45,000. "I just don't understand why you're being so aggressive about this," my mom said, passing the garlic bread. "Madison's going through If you say rough time one more time, I'm leaving, I interrupted. She's been going through a rough time for 15 years, I snapped, my anger simmering as I watched Madison shift uncomfortably. Meanwhile, she's driving a car that costs more than what she owes me. Madison defensively retorted, "That's different. The car is an investment in my career. I need to project success." "You know what project success?" I shot back, pulling out my folder of documents. "Paying your debts, being trustworthy, and not stealing your sister's house down payment." "Stealing?" Madison gasped. "I borrowed it. You agreed." "You borrowed it with specific promises that you broke," I said, my voice cold. "That's called fraud." My dad, who had been quietly eating his pasta, spoke up. "Maybe we could help. Your mother and I could contribute something." "No," I said firmly, setting my fork down. "This isn't about the family bailing Madison out of another mess. This is about Madison facing consequences for once." "But we're family," my mom insisted, her voice tinged with emotion. "Family helps each other." "Really?" I shot back. "Where was this family helps each other philosophy when I needed a roommate after college? Madison had that big empty house, but you said I needed to learn independence." Madison rolled her eyes. "That was different." "Yes, it was different," I said, my frustration growing. "Because it was me needing help instead of you. Everything's different when it's me." "You've always been so good at handling things on your own," my mom began, but I cut her off. "That's not a punishment, Mom. Being responsible shouldn't mean I'm less deserving of consideration, of respect, of having my sister keep her word." The room fell silent. My mom looked on the verge of tears. My dad stared at his plate, and Madison's expression hardened with anger, as if I had betrayed her. "I'm filing in small claims court next week," I said, standing up. "You can either start taking this seriously, or you can explain to a judge why you bought a luxury car instead of repaying your debt. If you do this," Madison warned, "it will change everything." I looked at her, really looked at her, the designer clothes, the perfectly manicured nails, the entitled attitude our family had nurtured for years. "Everything already changed," I replied coolly. "It changed the day you decided your Mercedes was more important than your word." True to her word, Madison rallied the extended family against me. Aunts called saying I was being unreasonable. Cousins sent messages about family loyalty. Even my grandmother weighed in, expressing disappointment in my choices. I saved every one of their messages in my legal file. Each one was proof of how Madison had weaponized the family against me, turning my attempt to get repaid into an act of betrayal. Only Cousin Erin stood by me, offering daily support and updates from her lawyer husband about what to expect in court. A week before the court date, my parents tried one last intervention. They invited me over and I found Madison there, sitting at the kitchen table like we were kids about to be disciplined. "We have a proposal," my dad said, pulling out his checkbook. "We'll pay half of what Madison owes you. You can drop the court case, and we can put this whole ugly business behind us." "That's very generous of you," I said, my voice steady. "But no, this isn't about you fixing Madison's mess again. It's about Madison facing consequences." "I could lose my car," Madison burst out. "They might repossess it if I have to pay you back all at once." "You should have thought about that before buying it with my money," I retorted. "It wasn't your money anymore. I borrowed it." "That's not how loans work, Madison. You don't just get to decide you're keeping it." My mom started crying. "Please, Olivia, this is tearing our family apart." "No, Mom. Madison's actions had fractured this family, and I was done pretending it hadn't happened." "But she's your sister," my dad protested, trying once more to sway me. "Yes, she is," I responded, my voice unwavering. "And as my sister, she should have respected me enough to keep her word, not buy luxury cars while owing me money. Do not treat me like a bank that doesn't need to be repaid." Madison suddenly stood up, her face flushing with anger. "Fine, you want to destroy this family over money? Go ahead. But don't expect me to ever forgive you." I watched her storm out, her usual dramatic exit, tears and guilt trips that had worked before, except not this time. "I'll see you in court," I called after her, then turned to my parents. "And if you try to pay your debt for her, I'll name you as GEO defendants for attempting to obstruct justice." My dad's face turned ashen, and my mom's tears stopped abruptly. For the first time, they looked at me not as the reliable daughter they could take for granted, but as someone capable of standing firm. On the morning of court, I arrived early, dressed in my sharpest suit, carrying a well-organized file of evidence. Erin was there for support, and her husband had helped me prepare my case. Madison showed up late, as expected, her Designer clothes and new handbag, making it clear how her priorities had been misaligned. Our parents sat behind her, uneasy in the small claims courtroom. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, listened intently as I presented my evidence: bank transfers, Madison's written promises, the timeline of her excuses, and photos of her recent luxury purchases, including the Mercedes. When it was Madison's turn, she tried her usual tactics: crying, invoking family loyalty, and bringing up her 3-year-old divorce. She claimed the car was necessary for her real estate career. The judge, however, was unmoved. "Miss Sullivan," she began sharply, "are you telling me you purchased a luxury vehicle while owing your sister $45? 0,000,000? It's just a lease," Madison stammered, "and I needed it for work. That's not what I asked. Did you buy a new car instead of repaying your sister?" "Well, yes, but... And these vacation photos posted on your social media last month? Was this trip necessary for work as well?" Madison faltered. "No, but, Miss Sullivan, this court takes a very dim view of individuals who demonstrate such blatant disregard for their financial obligations. Your sister provided substantial evidence of both the loan and your ability to repay it, had you chosen to do so." Madison's usual manipulations crumbled. The judge wasn't swayed by tears or guilt trips. She was unmoved by Madison's claims of hardship. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "your social media posts suggest a pattern of frivolous spending while actively avoiding your debt. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. You are ordered to repay the full amount of $45,000 within 90 days. 90 days? Madison gasped. "That's impossible. I don't have that kind of money." "Perhaps you should consider selling your new car," the judge suggested dryly. "Next case." In the hallway afterward, Madison lunged at me. "Happy now? You've ruined everything." I met her gaze calmly. "You ruined it. You ruined it when you decided your luxury lifestyle was more important than your integrity." My parents hovered nearby, their faces full of disbelief. They had never seen Madison face real consequences before. They had never seen me stand up to her like this. "We could help with the payments," my dad began, but I immediately cut him off. "Don't you dare," I shot back. "She got herself into this mess with her choices. She can get herself out the same way." As I walked out of the courthouse with Aaron, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Yes, the money mattered, but this was about so much more. About standing up for myself, refusing to be taken advantage of, and finally breaking the family cycle of enabling Madison's behavior. The aftermath rippled through our family like a tidal wave. Madison had to surrender her Mercedes to pay part of her debt, posting dramatic updates on social media about betrayal and the cost of trusting family. Though she turned off the comments when people started asking the hard questions. My parents struggled with the new family dynamic. Mom tried to play peacemaker, inviting us both to dinner as if nothing had changed. When I declined, she resorted to calling me daily with updates about how difficult Madison's life had become. "She had to cancel her Europe trip," my mom lamented. "And she's looking for a smaller apartment. Don't you think that's punishment enough?" "That's not punishment, Mom," I responded. "That's living within her means like everyone else has to do." But my mom continued, "She's so embarrassed at work, having to drive her old car again." "You mean the perfectly good 3-year-old Audi she had before?" "The horror," I retorted. After a month, Madison had repaid about half of what she owed, mainly by selling her car and some designer items. She made sure to announce every payment, acting like she was donating an organ rather than returning borrowed money. Then came the family reunion. I decided to attend, unwilling to let Madison's drama ruin our tradition. When I arrived, the whispers began immediately. Some relatives avoided me, while others cornered me to suggest I should have handled things more privately. But something unexpected happened. My younger cousins started asking for financial advice. My Aunt Susan quietly mentioned that my stand had given her the courage to stop lending money to her gambling-addicted son. Even my Uncle George, who had criticized me for going to court, admitted that his daughter had started repaying a loan after hearing about Madison's case. "Sometimes family needs tough love," he said, patting my shoulder. It took me too long to learn that lesson myself. The biggest surprise came from my dad. He pulled me aside during the reunion, looking uncomfortable but resolute. "I've been thinking," he began. "Your mother and I, we didn't do Madison any favors over the years, or you for that matter. We expected too little from her and too much from you." "Dad?" I interrupted. "No, let me finish," he continued. "Watching you stand your ground, even when everyone was against you, made me realize how much we've enabled her behavior, and how unfair we've been to you." He handed me an envelope. "This isn't to pay her debt, it's different. Your mother and I helped Madison with a down payment when she bought her house. We should have done the same for you. It's not the full amount, but it's a start." I looked at the check, $25,000. It wasn't just money, it was acknowledgement, recognition, and respect. "Thanks, Dad," I said, blinking back tears. "This means a lot." 6 months after the court case, Madison finally made the last payment. She transferred the money without a word, but posted a vague social media message about closing difficult chapters and moving forward. Our mutual friends told me she'd started seeing a financial advisor and was actually sticking to a budget for the first time in her life. My mom still struggled with the change in our family dynamic. She kept trying to orchestrate reconciliation opportunities, unable to accept that sometimes relationships need to stay broken to heal properly. But my dad had become an unexpected ally, shutting down her attempts to guilt me into making peace. The money went straight into my house fund, and with my dad's additional help, I finally had enough for a down payment. The day I closed on my new home, I thought about how different everything was from a year ago. I'd lost the easy relationship with my sister, the blind support of some family members, and the role of reliable peacekeeper I'd played for so long. But I'd gained something more valuable: self-respect, the knowledge that I could stand up for myself, even when it was difficult, even when it hurt, even when everyone expected me to give in, like always. Erin helped me move into my new place, and as we unpacked boxes, she handed me a framed quote she'd designed herself, putting her own graphic design skills to work. It read, "Sometimes the highest price of peace is your self-respect." I hung it in my home office, a reminder of lessons learned and boundaries earned. At my housewarming party, I watched my transformed family dynamics play out in real time. Madison didn't come, but she'd sent a card, store-bought, with a simple congratulations and her signature. No fake sentiments, no dramatic statements, just acknowledgement from a safe distance. My parents came early to help set up. My mom still looked sad when she mentioned Madison's absence, but she didn't push the issue. My dad took me aside to show me a spreadsheet he'd made to track his own expenses. He'd finally started managing the family finances instead of letting them spiral out of control. Cousin Erin brought her famous lasagna and a bottle of champagne. "To new beginnings," she said, "and to standing your ground." Other relatives who'd initially criticized me now asked about my experience buying a home, some even admitting they wished they'd been stricter with their own family lending. The house wasn't as luxurious as the one I might have bought a year ago, before Madison's loan drained my savings. But it was mine, earned through hard work and protected by newfound strength. Each room represented not just my financial investment, but my investment in myself. Later that evening, I found a quiet moment to sit on my new back porch, listening to the happy chatter from inside. A year ago, I'd been the family peacekeeper, the reliable one who would sacrifice anything to keep everyone happy. Now I was something else, something stronger, clearer, more defined. Sometimes family bonds have to break to reset properly. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hold someone accountable, and sometimes losing what you thought you needed helps you find what you actually deserve.